I probably shouldn't be alive to tell you this. The car flipped. More than once. Metal twisted. Glass shattered. When it finally came to a stop, the vehicle looked like a crumpled soda can. And yet, I stepped out with barely a scratch. Now, I know what some people might say. You got lucky. But standing there, staring at the wreckage, I knew in my bones, this wasn't just luck. Have you ever had a moment when time slowed down? When everything around you was chaos, but deep inside, there was this strange calm. That's what it felt like. In the middle of it all, when the tires left the pavement and the world started spinning, something held me. Not a seatbelt. I hadn't buckled up, but I felt it, like a hand pressing me firmly back into the seat. Gentle, unshakable, like I was being told, "You're not done yet." I'm not the kind of person who throws the word miracle around. But when a rescue worker looked me in the eyes and said, "You should have died in there," I realized maybe someone else had a say in the outcome that day. And that's why I'm here, telling you this. Not to shock you, but because if you've ever had a moment like that, a close call, an unexplainable peace, or a whisper inside that said, "Stay," when everything else screamed, "Go," maybe it wasn't just coincidence. Maybe you were being held too. It was just another day. Nothing stood out. I woke up, got dressed, grabbed my keys, and headed to work like I always did. Same road, same stops, same to-do list buzzing in the back of my mind. But what no one could see, what even I wasn't fully honest about, was how tired I had become. Not just physically, but soul tired. You ever felt that? Where you're functioning, showing up, doing all the things, but inside, you're running on fumes? I hadn't been sleeping well for days. Stress was piling up like unopened mail. Deadlines, expectations, life just pressing in on all sides. But I kept telling myself, just push through. You've got this. We live in a world that praises hustle, right? We're taught to stay strong, stay sharp, stay in control. And I bought into that. I thought control equaled safety. But here's the truth I didn't want to admit. I was so busy holding everything together that I didn't notice I was falling apart. There were signs, looking back, moments of zoning out behind the wheel, snapping at people I loved, forgetting simple things. But I brushed them off, because when you're used to surviving, exhaustion can start to feel normal. I once heard someone say, "Burnout doesn't wave a flag, it whispers." And I think that day, my body, my spirit, was whispering louder than I realized. The scary part? I almost didn't hear it in time. But that day, the day everything changed, started out looking just like any other. And that's what makes it even more sobering. And then it happened. Out of nowhere, this car came flying past me, cutting in too fast, too close. There was no time to react, no room to think. 1 second I was gripping the wheel, and the next, I wasn't on the road anymore. The tires lost grip. The car veered off, slammed the guardrail, and everything just spun. Have you ever had one of those moments where the world slows down, like time itself takes a deep breath? That's what it felt like. Glass breaking, metal twisting, the sound of gravity trying to tear everything apart. But inside that chaos, there was stillness. I don't know how to explain it, but in the middle of that storm, I felt something hold me, something unseen. I wasn't buckled in, not that day, but I felt this pressure on my chest and shoulders, steady and firm, like a hand keeping me anchored. Not yanking, not panicking, just calm, like it knew exactly what it was doing. And when the car finally came to a stop, upside down, crushed and unrecognizable, I opened my eyes. still here. When the rescue team pulled me out, one of them looked at the wreckage, looked at me, and shook his head. He said, "You should have died in there." And I knew he wasn't wrong. That moment changed everything, because it forced me to ask a question I'd been too busy to ask. Why was I still here? Later that night, I found myself lying in a hospital bed. Still, quiet, machines softly beeping in the background. And all I could think was, how am I even here? No broken bones, no internal bleeding, just a few scratches. The doctors kept saying it didn't make sense, that people don't walk away from crashes like that. But somehow, I did. And that's when the real questions started to rise. Not the medical ones, the soul-deep ones. Why am I still alive? And why? Why do I feel like someone held me back? I want you to imagine this for a second. You're in the middle of something terrifying. Everything should be screaming panic. But instead, you feel peace. That's what I felt in that car. Not fear, not chaos. Just this strange, sacred stillness, like the eye of a storm. No one else saw it. There were no cameras, no proof. But in my heart, I knew. Someone had intervened. And listen, I'm not the kind of person who grew up leaning on faith or talking about divine intervention. But there, in that sterile room, wrapped in silence and survival, I felt it. It wasn't random. It wasn't luck. There was a reason I was still breathing. And the longer I stared at that ceiling, the more I realized. This wasn't just a second chance. It was a wake-up call. After the accident, something in me shifted. Not all at once. It wasn't like I woke up a brand new person. But slowly, life started to feel different. I walked a little slower, breathed a little deeper. Not because I had to, but because I could. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't take that for granted. Have you ever had one of those moments where the noise of life gets quiet enough that you start to hear something deeper, not out loud, but inside? That's what it felt like, as if the accident cracked something open in me. And what came through wasn't fear or trauma, but a quiet invitation to see the world differently, to pay attention, to ask, what really matters? I didn't run to religion. I wasn't looking for rules or rituals, but I started looking for God. In the small, unexpected places, in the morning light through the window, in the kindness of a stranger, in the breath I got to take again and again. One Sunday, I walked into a church, not out of obligation, but curiosity. And for the first time in years, I prayed, not a polished prayer, just a whisper from a raw place. If that was you, if you were the one who held me, then I don't want to live the rest of my life just for me anymore. That moment, that quiet surrender, was the beginning of something new. I don't know if you've ever been through something that shattered your sense of control. A crash, a crisis, a fall you didn't see coming. But if you're still here after it, maybe, just maybe, you were held back too. I want you to sit with that for a second. Was there a moment in your life when, by all logic, you shouldn't have made it through? A time when you whispered, that could have been it, but it wasn't? What if that moment wasn't just a narrow escape, but a doorway? Not to go back to life as usual, but to start living differently, more honestly, more purposefully, more awake. See, I can't tell you exactly why I was saved. I'm not claiming to have all the answers, but I do know this. It wasn't random, and I don't think yours is either. Maybe, just maybe, God is holding you back right now, not to punish you, not to scare you, but to invite you into something bigger than yourself, something deeper, something real. So if this story stirred something in you, if it reminded you of your own unexplainable moment, don't ignore it. That tug on your heart? It might be the very thing you were meant to hear today. And hey, before you go, if this message spoke to you, I'd love for you to share your thoughts in the comments. Leave a like if it resonated, and subscribe to the channel. Trust in Light for more stories like this one. You never know. The next story might be yours.